At the end of the day, when all's said and done, I love a pie and a pint.
It's amazing.
It's very moist.
That is incredible.
Oh, I could just eat that all to myself. Is there anything better in heaven or the universe than a pie and a pint? Now, my mates at Goose Island have challenged me to come up with the ultimate pie and pint. Well, obviously it's got their Bourbon County Imperial Stout in it, hasn't it? Now, if I'm gonna find the perfect pie to go with this beer, I better taste it. Right, this little beauty is a little bit special. This is Bourbon County. Goose Island were the first brewery to commercially produce an Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels. That bourbon barrel gives it an incredible, unique character. I can't wait to crack this open. Goose Island release this every year and people queue round the block for 2 days in the freezing cold in Chicago to get their hands on this. Let's see what all the fuss is about. Just look how rich that looks. Oh, it's got a sweet vanilla smell to it. What's so special about this Imperial Stout is that it's put into wet bourbon barrels and all that flavour is then imparted into this beautiful, rich stout. Let's try it. Oh, you've got a beautiful sweet vanilla there. You've got the smokiness that comes from the charred barrels, and then there's just rich chocolate in there and a surprising desiccated coconut vibe going in there. And that all comes from the barrel, it comes from the Imperial Stout, and it comes from the bourbon that's in there as well. I know just the pie that's going to be best mates with this. Right, I'm going to use skirt steak for these pies. It comes from the belly of the cow. It needs to be cooked low and slow, but it won't need to be cooked forever. About an hour and a half, it'll be nice and tender. Let's get it sliced up. Now, the pie that I'm making is going to be this beautiful small thing that you can hold in your hand and have your stout in the other hand. The perfect combo. So I'm cutting small sized chunks so that they reduce down and they fit into the pie perfectly. You don't want big chunks with this. Okay, now the vegetables that I'm using for the pie: celery, onion, carrot and mushroom. I'm going to grate the first 3 because they will really obliterate, melt down and add to the sweetness and the depth of flavour within the stew. And then I'm going to do something really cheeky with the mushrooms. First off, let's grate this lot. Okay, now let's do the mushrooms. With the mushrooms, I'm going to just slice those down and then I'm going to toast them in a dry pan, and that's going to develop such a strong flavour that's going to go so well with the ale and so well with the beef. It's just going to add this depth of umami. Okay, so the mushrooms are toasted off. They've got a real depth to them now. So now we're going to do the meat. So I want some vegetable oil into my pan and then we're going to brown off the meat. Okay, I've seasoned the meat and it's gone into a big pan, so there's loads of space. So all that's happening is that it's browning the meat. If you put this meat into a small pan and it's meat on top of meat on top of meat, the meat's steaming, not browning, and you're not going to get the flavour you need. Okay, so I've got all that beautiful caramelisation and flavour onto the meat. Let's get it out the pan. Now come and have a look at the pan. I've got all that beefy gnarliness and all that flavour stuck to the bottom of the pan, and I want that flavour. How am I going to get it? I'm going to get it with those vegetables. Okay, I've sort of deglazed the pan with those vegetables. Steak and mushroom back into the pan. Okay, now I'm gonna get some fresh herbs in there. I'm gonna use rosemary because it goes so well with all the other ingredients. Get it off the stalk, finely dice. So I've also got a bay leaf, that's going in, and then rosemary into the pan. Okay, that's looking great, but essentially they're all different components that have been cooked at different stages. It's the bourbon county that, as I pour it in, is gonna bring everything together and make it incredible. Let's do it. Oh wow, like you immediately get that sweet depth in there. It's gonna go so well with the meat. Oh, I can't wait for this. Mate, that is looking mega. Now let's add to the party. We're gonna put a splash of Worcestershire sauce in there, just about a tablespoon and a half. And then you want beef stock, let's get that in. Okay, now, lid on. And I'm just gonna let that tickle away for about an hour until it becomes so juicy and tender. We're making a hot water crust pastry. It starts with 50 mils of milk and 50 mils of water, and we add 150 grams of lard into a pan and warm through. Right, while the lard's all melting down into that mixture, let's beat an egg. Okay, so I've just whisked all those ingredients together so it emulsifies. I'm going to create a little bit of a well within the flour, and then I'm going to start gradually adding it in. Okay, so that's all coming together now nicely, so time to get your hands in there, just to form it into a dough and it all collects in the bowl. Okay, knead it for 3 to 4 minutes, then drop it into your bowl and set it aside for about half an hour just to chill out and rest, and then we'll start making it into our pastry cases. That guy's rested for half an hour, so let's get rid of the cling film, get it out the bowl, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this down to go into these individual pastry cases that we're going to blind bake. Once you've put your circular pastry into the ring, you take another piece of pastry that you've rolled up into the ball and you start pushing it all the way around so it fits perfectly within the ring. Take a sharp knife and trim round the excess. Now what you need to do is get that piece of pastry and start pushing the side of the pastry over the top. If you don't do that, it will contract, shrink, and you won't be able to have a perfectly formed pie. Okay, now cut yourself a rough rectangle and then place that into the pastry case. Just push it down so it fits in, and then you want to get some baking beans. We're just going to drop those in so we can blind bake it. We're going to blind bake these pastry cases about 180 for 15 minutes. Then we're going to take out the baking beans and let them cook for another 5 minutes, and that will help them just bake and stand up perfectly to receive their filling to then be finally cooked off. So remember, they've been baked for 15, I've taken the baking beans out and they've just had their final 5. And if you come and have a look at this guy here, he's just absolutely beautiful. Let's just pull him out. And he is completely, perfectly baked. You've got a nice browning, but it's not too brown because remember it's got to go in with the filling and the top to bake again. Let's check on our steak filling. Now, look at this work of art. You know, it's just a beautiful thing to behold straight away. The meat's broken down. You've got those kind of smoky mushrooms that's going to complement with the smokiness of the stout. Oh, it's so rich and meaty. But then you've got the Imperial Stout giving it that vanilla sweetness. You wouldn't think that would go in a savoury pie, but it's gonna be mega. Oh, I could just eat that all to myself. So good. Okay, you need to let it cool down, and then we're gonna get it into our pie. I've just gone over the tops to make sure they're all even. I'm getting juicy small bits of meat and mushroom to finish off, not big chunks. And then it's time to finish off the pastry tops. So we've got the top to fit perfectly. Then you get a little bit of egg wash, paint that on, and then we're gonna just drop that on so it sticks, and then egg wash again on the top, and the egg wash is going to create a beautiful golden brown colour. So just get that on, and then we just prick the middle so all the steam and the heat that comes out has somewhere to escape. I'm going to do the rest and then back in the oven to finish off. Those beauties. They're just gonna be a work of art. Let's get that in the oven at 200 until they're golden brown and bubbling on the top. Moment of truth, brothers and sisters. Shall we see how they're doing? Just look how beautiful these look. Shall we see how we've got on? Come on. Just look at that. You can already tell that the pastry has got a real snap to it, but it's also really crumbly. Oh, wow, like you can so see how the Bourbon County has added to that, right? I can smell the sweetness and the beefiness. Oh my God. Shall I? Shall I have a I will then. Oh. Oh. You've got that vanilla vibe that surprisingly works well with the beef. And then the smokiness that comes from the barrels is best mates with the beef. It works so well. Let's taste it with this Imperial Stout. Oh, it's such a luxurious accompaniment to go with it. It's just got so much going on and it just really complements. Those guys are the ultimate pie and pint. Oh, it's the sweetness and the molasses sort of viscous treacleness to it that just makes it such an in-depth thing. Everybody's gone crazy for it. I reckon the pie has got to be worth £4. £4. Let's take it to the streets of Shepherd's Bush Market and see what people will pay. I don't want to though, I want to keep it to myself. Right, boys, what we have is my take on the ultimate pie and a pint, okay? So you've got Bourbon County Stout and you've got a steak and ale pie made with it. Please, take half the pie, get involved.
After you. Very good. Yeah, delicious.
Yeah?
Yeah. Very rich. Meat's quite soft, quite tender. Yeah, it's nice. It's juicy.
Too thick so it just snaps, right?
It's crumbly. Yeah. Nice and soft. Good little basket to keep it all in. Really.
Come on. Right, try it with the Imperial Stout. So, considering it's the ultimate steak and ale pie, what do you think it's worth?
About £3.5, £4.
I'm going to say £6.
He can come for Christmas. Right, okay, so this is my take on a steak and ale pie. It's just come out of the oven. Please take a bite and tell us what you think.
It's amazing.
It's very
good.
moist.
Steak filling is amazing. That's why like the crisp is good to have, because all of the accent is on the filling. Well, that's what I feel.
Now, try it with the Imperial Stout. It's cooked with this stout.
I can actually taste the stout. It's beautiful.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah?
The ale. in the pie, and it's really nice that there's not too much pastry.
Exactly, right?
And sometimes it's a bit.
What do you think you would pay for a whole pie,
London-wise,
London-wise?
I think fair would be like £3 to £4.
Okay.
I wouldn't go more.
Okay,
Because it's
okay.
nice that it has a lot of like, well, filling and the meat inside, so you do have value for it.
I would pay about £2.50.
£2.50.
If that's like sort of bar food.
Totally. Well, that's what it is. It's to go with your pie. Ladies, you were brilliant. Thank you so much.
So much.
So that, my brothers and sisters, is my ultimate steak and ale pie. Perfect with the Imperial Stout. Come on, back of the net. You can't beat that. Look at it.